inaugural Fuel Richer Cup Series. Huge crash on the front straightaway to the line. Martinez to the line.
The Washington, D.C. region SCCA heads home to Summit Motorsports Park in Jefferson County, West Virginia for round 3 of the season. We spent last week in New Jersey, where rainy conditions plagued drivers like Greg Obadia, who threatened to steal the TCR victory from Alison until a series of mistakes relegated him farther in the pack. There was plenty of contact between TCR, Big Bore, and GMX5, so this week, drivers' heads are on a swivel. A home track for many, Summit Point Motorsports Park has 10 turns and a long front straightaway, allowing the draft to keep cars close as they navigate the rest of the course. Tonight is about maximizing opportunity, and for Big Bore drivers David Alesi and Dave Fitzgerald, it's about dethroning last week's winner, Christopher Lapras. Welcome to Sim TV. I'm Kyle Heyer, joined by Finian and Dominic Mandil. Tonight is going to be interesting to watch, especially with the car count nearing 40. The home track is also a popular one, it seems, and it also seems I can't talk very well tonight, so got through the intro finally. Finian, we're back at Summit Motorsports Park, a very popular place for these drivers.
Indeed, so, and we've seen one of the biggest fields we've seen in the air for these guys, other than the first race. So I see a big field here at Summit Point, and right now the Kias and Mustangs out qualifying on the grid, but even with these two classes combined, they don't meet the size of the MX-5 field tonight.
Yeah, the MX-5 field, I think the last time I checked they had 21 cars or something thereabouts, so quite a few MX-5s in this race here tonight. But Dominic, last week we saw a lot of multi-class issues between especially the Kias and the MX-5s at New Jersey Motorsports Park. How do the Kia drivers have to change their driving today to avoid that similar situation?
So Kyle, I think that they're going to have to use the straights a lot more, because with that turbo that they have, they're going to have some considerable on the straightaway, so use that to get around some of the slower traffic. And then in the time portion of the course, which is all the way from turn 5 to turn 9, they're going to have to be patient as the different cars snake their way through that area. And in order to not create any type of situation, they're going to have to wait to make the best move where it's going to be the safest for them to do.
All right, and Vidiians got our point standings up after last week's rainy race at New Jersey Motorsports Park.
Yeah, and DJ Alessandrini is leading the points after taking back-to-back wins in this series, so he's pretty much uncontested. He's 50 points out ahead of Darren Treacle, who has 27 points, and Francoise Brew, who has 24. So Alessandrini has a commanding lead there, but it's very close in the Mustang class, as Horace, Landy, and Christopher Lapras are both tied with 43 points apiece. David Fitzgerald is in third with 30 points back, or with 30 points, he's 13 points back. And then over to the MX-5, Paul Darling is leading with 50 points, is very behind him with 30 points, and then Khaleel McKirball in third with 24 points.
Yeah, so interesting note, you mentioned Forrest Landy here, not here tonight, Finian, at Summit Point, so missing, and if he doesn't get in here in at least a couple minutes, it's going to be a big points deficit for him. But Dave Fitzgerald, that number 18 Mustang, he's been really good lately, and we'll see if he can eke out a victory tonight. He's going to have to beat Lapras and Monaghan, who are on top of the board right now in qualifying.
Indeed, so, and I think definitely it's going to be Fitzgerald's chance to get try to get some points over Lapras, if anything, at least over Landy, who's currently not here. So hopefully we see Landy, so that that points battle between both those guys can be very spicy in the Mustang class.
Yeah, we're both having trouble talking tonight. Oh, it's been a long day for some of us. Greg Obadia in the 66, though, he was leading a lot last week at New Jersey Motorsports Park and then made a big mistake in turn 1, and that effectively ended his chance to win. So he's got to clean up a little bit tonight if he wants to go out and beat Ken Houseel and DJ Alessandrini, who are swapping the top spot right now in qualifying. We also want to take a moment to thank our sponsors, OG Racing and Radial Tire Company, coming on board to sponsor the Washington, D.C. region SCCA iRacing League. You can find their links and their information in the video description. So thanks for joining us on board there. There's Alan Claffey in the 39 qualifying right now. He's not had a great start to the season, so hoping to have a better night tonight. But we mentioned Ken Houseel and DJ Alessandrini. These guys continue to battle in every series we see them run together in. I don't think anything's going to change tonight.
No, definitely so. And Houseel is currently on the back foot of Alessandrini, really in the point. And actually, where is Houseel in the points? He's already back in 7th, so he's pretty much out of the points picture at this point. Again, with a very short season, only 6 races, and this is the 3rd race of the season. So really, I think at this point he's just going to be having to go for wins, and currently he's leading the timesheets.
Dominic, familiarity is what I would say when every time we come to Summit Point Motorsports Park. 10 turns around here, but a lot of these drivers, this is their home track. We've mentioned it a couple times. How does that change how you attack a racetrack if you know just a little bit more about it than, say, a place like New Jersey?
So I think any circuit you go to, knowing the little nuances, there's little things that people who have a lot of experience, a lot of laps of the track, are particularly good at in terms of reading it. And especially if weather becomes a factor, like inclement weather we had last week, you're going to know the rain line better. And so there's going to be these little things. And sometimes the little things can make a big difference when it comes to both qualifying and the race, trying to get hot laps put down. And the drivers who spend the most time on the track are the ones who know how to do it best.
Absolutely. So we're riding on board with Pelota now as he works through turn number 3 up and over the curb. Then there's that sand trap on corner exit. That's going to get a lot of use here this afternoon, Finian. Let's take a look at our conditions tonight. It's going to be 90 degrees on the track, 78 in the air, so relatively cool conditions, although I can see that track temp coming up just a little bit.
Yeah, especially so once we get all 36 or so of the cars that are here tonight, once we get them all on the track, and actually up to 91 now. So as soon as all the cars start putting down rubber, the track's going to start heating up and get a little bit more slippery for these drivers.
See Pelota working his way through. This is another one of those racetracks that can be particularly frustrating in the TCR category with these big, heavy Kia Optimas. These things don't turn very well, and especially the turn 4, 5, 6, 7 complex. That is a very tricky thing to drive in the Kias, although I think the rear-wheel drive cars will have a little bit better time with that. Chip Tisharoon joining on the racetrack tonight in that 75 Mustang. Was here last week, but didn't really have a great run at New Jersey, so hoping to turn things around a little bit this week.
Indeed, looking to turn things around. Currently running in 3rd, so he's having a pretty good, pretty solid qualifying effort. But again, as we're seeing last week, Christopher Lapras is the guy to beat here. He's got a second over Michael Monaghan, who's second in class. So Lapras is looking very strong this week again. Yeah,
and he's going to probably be unstoppable, but I did mention earlier that Dave Fitzgerald has the potential to win this race, although the last time we were here at Summit Point, he didn't have a very good time. He went skating off the racetrack right here where Lapras is right now. So if Fitzgerald can keep the car on course, he might have a shot. But one thing I want to keep in mind, and we mentioned this the last time we were here at Summit Point, is the temperatures, not only on the racetrack, but in the brakes of these big, heavy Mustangs. We'll ride. You see the brake rotors already glowing there a little bit on Lapras' number 04, but let's ride on the right front suspension cam as we get down here to turn number 1 and watch those brake rotors glow, Finian. You don't want to beat up your equipment too much. It's only a 25-minute race, but if you stand on the brakes too hard, you're going to wear them out.
Indeed, and should start braking right around here. And there you see a lot of glow on the brakes. Also, you can see all the polygons on the brakes as well. But
not
yeah,
the prettiest looking car.
No, indeed, but definitely one of the best to drive in. You can see there, these brakes are going to get very toasty along with the track for those Mustangs.
What about Darren Treacle on track right now in the number 70, only lapped a 119.5 to DJ Alessandrini's 113.5, so a couple seconds necessary for Treacle to make up some ground.
Treacle's actually stuck back in that in the Mustang field right now, so needs to pick up the pace, otherwise he's going to be with them.
Yeah, that would not be a whole lot of fun here, but we only have a couple more minutes of qualifying here, and then we're going to turn over the field to the MX5 category. And Dominic, we obviously know how important the draft is here at Summit Point. Maybe not quite as much as it was at Watkins Glen a few weeks ago, but qualifying. You want to be in the draft for it, don't you?
Absolutely, and if you can find a train of drivers who are willing to work with you, that's even better. And something we talked about at Watkins Glen was if you can find a train and somebody who does the best at leading the pack, that's going to give you the most optimal run through all these corners and then on the front straightaway. If you can find the correct pairing, that's going to work for you and for everybody else to make the draft clean and work the best.
And we definitely seen that in the past. We saw DJ Alessandrini and Ken Houseel do the same last time we were here when they were in the GMX5 class, but now they're in Kias where the draft isn't really going to be super important. So I'd keep an eye on really Sam Scott, Elias Roman, maybe Paul Darling, and potentially, who else we got in here that's... Calvin Wong is also making a return here. But again, Dennis Barrett in the 91 car, I think all those guys are going to be kind of found together in a pack, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that here in just a couple minutes as you see Fitzgerald working his way around. Not a great qualifying effort for Fitzgerald. He's a little bit off the pace, about actually, that's not correct. He's about a half a second off the pace of 4th place Chip Disharoon with a 119.378. So Fitzgerald's qualifying effort not going great, but we know that race pace can sometimes be quite different than qualifying.
Indeed, so, and I think also, and you're talking about the draft too, it's not going to entirely matter as much for the Kias and the Mustang, but definitely going to be a big factor like we were talking about for the MX-5s, and especially in their qualifying effort. I think you're going to see them pretty much all qualifying in big packs.
Well, how about that Rent-A-Wreck Kia and Louis Alessi sitting in 7th right now. Qualifying effort not too bad. He had a decent week last week at New Jersey, but looking to have a little bit better now. And Travis Trussell in the 140. This is a guy that we have not seen before in the series, so a new entry sitting 6th on the grid.
Indeed, and it looks like the first MX-5s are starting to roll out on the track, so the Kias and Mustangs are going to start to pull off. And with that, Alison is going to take the top spot away from Kenneth Seal. And now the MX-5s have their turn at qualifying.
How about David Black in the 28 car? Red, white, and blue, American-sponsored. Mazda MX-5 working his way through turns 1 and 2. Nicholas Palacio? He told me how to say his name, and I'm going to hurt myself because it's like Palacio. You can say his name. Oh, here's some contact back here. I think it was with... No, I thought it was with... Tarek. Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Here. I'm just going to show this name to the audience here, and hopefully we'll get a pronunciation correction, because I'm not even going to try that one. You going to go Google it for me, Finian? Thanks. The number 17 right now on track. Another new entry here this week, and we're seeing quite a few new entries here, Dominic, and I guess the home track appeal quite strong, and there's always a little bit more there's always a little bit higher feeling of victory whenever you conquer your home track, right?
Absolutely, it always tastes a little bit sweeter when you can do it at home, and it's always nice when you have some of the out-of-area drivers to give you a challenge too, because some of the tracks they run may be similar to Summit Point or some of the other tracks in this area, so it's cool to see how the experience that drivers have at tackling different circuits will shine once you all put them on the same track.
All right, so with 12 minutes remaining in qualifying, we have yet to see anyone lay down a lap time, but that 98 of Sam Scott was really competitive last week. And I imagine Paul Darling, his teammate, will also probably have a good week here as well. So they are teammates and can draft together, and I think we'll see a little bit of that. You see him running a little bit wide on the exit at turn number 10. There is a little bit of curb, then a bunch of rumble strip, and then a huge sand trap. And we've seen drivers take advantage of every inch of racetrack around here, Finian.
Yeah, remember that Sam Scott had some trouble last week at New Jersey. He was running in the top 3 with Elias Roman and Paul Darling, but ran into some troubles in his car and unfortunately went off the track. So hopefully he can be up there and competing with these guys. Currently is 10th in class, so hopefully he can improve on that.
We mentioned Calvin Wong back here for the first time in a long time and sitting 5th right now in GMX5, and that's a really good result for him. And last season didn't really set the world on fire, but this week looking real good for him in that number 100 car.
Yeah, I mean, especially considering, like you said, we have about 20 of them on the grid, 20 MX5s here on the grid tonight, so to be 5th in class is really big.
Notably, Greg Obadia in the number 66 TCR car, 10th in qualifying, or actually in the Kia category, but 15th overall. I don't imagine he got a very clean lap because he was running really well last week.
That might have been an out lap, looking at the way the time is. That might have been him just coming out of the pits because the start-finish line's after pit road. So I think that he wasn't. I think he just was able to get in the car to put a time in before the MX-5s put down a time.
Richard Demarco with the 461 back here again this week. And to the inside of the 171, and that car is driven by Robbie Wilson. Yeah,
and you can see all the MX-5s pretty much in a line for more or less are kind of trying to figure themselves out here. You see the 161 a little bit squirrely.
Yeah, oh wow, look at Richard Demarco taking off the racetrack, but just jumped to the top of the board, but not for long because Sam Scott goes up to the top, and you see, I think that was Paul Darling pulling off the racetrack. And there is the 28 car, David Black, going a little bit wide in turn 1, so he's done with his lap. Khaleel and the Tierboff in the 19 back here this week. I think he was one of the ones that was a victim of the Kia category last week, getting knocked off course, I think, by DJ Alessandrini, so looking for redemption this week.
Indeed, so he's currently 3rd in the point standing, so he's going to have to try to improve on that. He's got the next place driver, Dennis Barrett, 6 points ahead of him, so very close for 2nd place, but definitely not for the lead in the class because Paul Darling is taking away with 2 wins to his name in that class. He's leading not only the class but currently has provisional pole for the MX-5 class.
Dominic, looking at a guy like Paul Darling, he's been so good lately, and it has also helped a little bit that Alessandrini and Houseel have taken their fight to TCR. But if you're Paul Darling, you've got a teammate like Sam Scott. You don't want to say that there's any team orders here, but it's got to go, both ways here. If you're going to help each other win, you got to kind of decide if you're going to go against each other or go against the field. And when you go on the last lap and you're pushing Sam Scott, it's either you pass Sam Scott and you potentially put yourself up to get passed by the rest of the field, or you just work together and finish 1st and 2nd. So teammates, are you thinking about him on the last lap, or are you just going for broke?
So Kyle, usually with teammates you create a strategy where at the beginning you work together as in tandem, and then usually on the penultimate lap or last lap, it's every man for himself and the gloves come off. But up to that point, you can really help each other and usually make a break just between the two of you if you play your cards right. So having a teammate is great because you can share off each other's data, see where each of you is strong, where you're maybe not strong, and then once it comes down to those closing laps, it's really going to be what you have for one another in terms of trying to win.
And we're riding on board with Paul Darling here as he works his way through turn number 3, up and over the curb, out wide into the sand trap. Now we head down towards turns 4, 5, 6, and 7, and 8. Really, this is the tight and twisty section, the part that I can never really get a handle on. And you see Darling run a little bit wide, but he's going to apex late here, Finian, but carrying speed through this section is pretty tricky to do.
Yeah, this is pretty much the technical section of the track. Very twisty, very narrow for these cars, but MX-5 is not so much, but you got to be careful, I think, especially with these guys, because you can tell, you can kind of almost see the car leaning and all the weight shifting to one side. So these guys catch the curbs in the wrong way or just get a little bit loose, especially with the track temps climbing as the session goes on. These guys got to be careful. They can potentially break loose in the corner and go flying around, and that's never good.
Now time for turn number 10. We get onto the right, that really thin, tall curb there, and then you track way out wide and use every little bit of pavement and maybe then a little more than that to get as much speed as you can on this long straightaway, and that is probably the most important corner. There's plenty of time here to make a pass on the final straightaway coming to the checkers. So, Dominic, would you rather, if you're in GMX5, would you rather be second position coming around to the white flag, or would you rather be in the lead?
So we found that on the last lap, typically if you can be in front of your opponent by the time you get to turn 5, sometimes turn 3, but usually turn 5, you're usually pretty good to go from there to the checkered flag, because despite the fact that you do have that straightaway, you really have to time it just right in order to have any kind of draft to be able to get by. So I definitely think that heading into the last lap, being in the lead once you get past turns 3 and then some cases turn 5 is really the most optimal place to be in order to win.
Absolutely. Sang Yi in the 35 car making a return here this week, and you're having a white and black livery car sitting in 5th right now. He's going to pull back onto the racetrack, maybe go for one more run. Michael Shea in the 78 also out on track, and he's running the same paint scheme, I believe, as the 461 of Richard Demarco, who's 4th right now. And how about Dennis Barrett? We've talked about his transition from Big Bore to GMX5 this season. So far, it's all going okay, but I think we still have yet to see him reach his full potential.
Yeah, currently 2nd in the points, so doing fairly well, but I'm sure he definitely wants to win, as he is married back in 2nd in class. Trying to he's gonna have to try to make an attempt to catch Paul Darling, but is currently in 8th and only has a few more minutes to left to put a faster time down.
Tyler Stewart in the 37 car back again this week, and you see there is the 78 car right behind him. That's Michael Shea. And Thomas Lee in the 33 entering turn 1 right now. This is another driver that we've seen kind of here and there, but not really up at the top of the board just yet. So a lot of these GMX5 drivers have yet to really see the light of a checkered flag, but maybe tonight is the night. But again, over 21. I think there actually might be exactly 21 MX5s in this field. Nope, correction, 20 MX5s. So quite a big field. Tim Kramer in the 2 car. That's another new name, I believe. So lots of new folks coming out this week to take on Summit Point.
Indeed, and speaking of Tim Kramer, is going to jump up into 14th. I don't know what is with this cough. I've had this cough.
I know. I was going to say, like,
week.
you've been sick for a while.
Yeah,
now,
I've been fine for a week. It's just been this cough, and it's only when I'm commentating too, because I'm fine all day, and I just start coughing out of nowhere. But yeah, Tim Kramer up into 14th.
You might want to grab a glass of water before we go green. All right, let's take a look at the conditions here, Finian. 92-degree track temp, so it's raised up a couple degrees since we started this session. And whoa, you see the 2 car go wide and up into the fence hard out of turn number 3. And that's going to hurt pretty good there. He'll have to restart and get that car pointed in the right direction. But again, we mentioned track temp. Wind, very calm, partly cloudy conditions, so it's not going to get anywhere near 120, 130 degrees like we've seen in the past, but certainly could be a little bit more comfortable. Let's take another look at our class structure tonight. The Kia Optima with that 375 horsepower 2-liter turbo, and it's 3,000 pounds. It's the middle child of the two in terms of the weight. But the big bore, the Ford Mustang's 3,600 pounds, almost a pickup truck worth of weight, and a 325 horsepower 4.6-liter V8 with a rear-wheel drive layout alongside the GMX5 Mazda MX-5 Global Cup car 155 horsepower from an inline 4. That thing weighs just a hair under 2,000 pounds without the driver, and that's also rear-wheel drive. So very different classes. Dominic, the MX-5's very, very nimble, I will say. And through the turn 5, 6, 7, 8 complex, they might be a little bit quicker than the Kias. So how do the MX-5s handle that, especially in traffic?
So again, the MX-5 drivers are going to have to really look in their mirrors and be aware of who's around them. And the Kias, I can imagine, will have a fairly significant closing speed as well, especially when we get to some of the straight parts. So just being aware of them coming up behind them, and then making sure that if the Kias are having a race of their own, that make sure you are as predictable as you can be in order to have them safely get by, and so everyone can continue racing safely.
You see Richard Demarco using the draft to get by, I think that was Calvin Wong, and indeed it is, as he'll go on by. And Demarco's up into third. This is a great qualifying effort for Demarco, and not a guy that we are typically associate with being up in the podium. He's, been inside the top 5, top 10 before, but this is a really good run. Another guy having a fantastic qualifying effort is Elias Roman in the 99. This guy was just short of a victory last week.
Indeed, is now also just short of pole. He's currently 49 thousandths of a second, 49 thousandths of a second slower than Paul Darling, who's currently leading the class, and he's probably got another lap or two left to put down a faster time. So we'll see if Elias Roman can get up there. But yeah, he was a big challenger last week. Was just a little bit short at New Jersey, so hopefully he can potentially get the win here.
So one thing I just was looking at the class ticker here, Finian, take a look at the gaps between the top two in TCR and GMX5. Less than a tenth of a second. And actually, yeah, I mean, it's 88 thousandths in the case of Alessandrini and Houseel, and 49 thousandths in the case between Darling and Elias Roman. So those classes are extremely tight, but Big Boar separated by 8/10 of a second between Christopher Lapras and David Alesi.
Yeah, that's just really just showing the skill gap between the drivers in the Big Boar class compared to the other classes. A lot tighter in the other ones, especially in MX-5, and that's just really due to the nature of the cars.
Charles Boley in the 63 in that purple, I don't even know what color to call that. Stale wine? I don't know, I mean, it's purple, but it's an interesting color. What does that remind you of? It's almost magenta.
Yeah, I was thinking magenta, but more pink, I guess. I don't know.
It's not quite Pepto-Bismol pink, but it's certainly brightly colored, and that car is 13th in class right now, 29th overall. With a minute and a half remaining here, it's about, with the MX-5s running about a minute 20 seconds around here, they get all one more lap if they can make it to the line, and now anyone that is on a lap will have to finish it, and that will be it for qualifying tonight. We'll go for 25 minutes to determine the winner in each of the 3 classes, like we've done the first 2 weeks at Watkins Glen and at New Jersey Motorsports Park. But again, I think the drivers are breathing a sigh of relief that the visibility is high again this week. No fog, no rain, and the track is nice and grippy and ready to go racing. So we've seen some fantastic racing here, especially also last night in the Grid Life Series. We saw in MX-5s the 94 of Tom O'Gorman, the real-world Michelin Pilot Challenge driver, came sliding across the line second in very, very close proximity. So we obviously know these cars are very chuckable. And I think these guys will probably put on a great show tonight. So we've seen the TCR cars have fantastic battles at the beginning of the race. That you see the 63 now going for a loop out of turn 10.
Speaking of sliding.
Yeah, speaking of sliding. The TCR cars tend to battle really close for the first couple laps, but the GMX-5s are battling for almost the entire race. So we'll have to probably keep an eye on the red cars tonight the most. So qualifying almost complete here at Summit Point Motorsports Park. And Sam Scott getting in one more lap, but it looks like for the time being, Paul Darling, Elias Roman, Richard Demarco, and Sam Scott, as well as Sang Yi, are going to round out your top 5 here. All of those drivers separated by, looks like under about 2/10 of a second. So pretty close proximity there. Qualifying is now complete, with just about a minute and a half left to wrap up drivers that are out there. So Noel Leslie in the 09 pulling off track. There's, let's see, that's Wong in the 100 car. Calvin Wong, the slowest of the MX-5 qualifiers, in 20th overall with a 123.267, half a second off a 19th place Tyler Stewart. So not the qualifying effort Wong was looking for.
No, indeed it isn't. Khaleel in the Tierball, it's going to be intense, so probably a little bit lower than he would have liked, so he's going to have to work through some traffic to get to the front. Dennis Barrett, it's going to finish in 8th, so another effort that he probably would have like to go a little bit better. So some drivers, notably up in the point standings, are going to be a little bit, they're going to be stuck midfield and have to work their way up.
All right, well, let's break down the classes for you here, Finian. 10 cars in TCR tonight. We have, it looks like 7, but maybe only 6 are going to be able to grid in Big Bore, and then the rest of the field, all 20 of the rest of the field, are going to be the GMX5 Category 2 drivers. Have yet to actually join the session. I don't think they're going to get here in time. Mark Shrivastava and Mark Lebans. Yay, names. Some of these names are new to us, and they keep throwing me off until I hear myself corrected. So,
I mean, there are really hard names. So.
Hey, it's not exactly the Cup Series leagues that we do, are they?
No.
Dan Smith, Johnny Appleseed. I don't know. All right, qualifying's complete. Everyone's pulled off the racetrack, and it's time to go racing here at Summit Point Motorsports Park. We'll take one more final look at the conditions tonight before we go racing. 92 degrees on the track, and you see the track is pretty well used. Some wheel marks in the runoff areas, in the sand traps, and I think we're going to see plenty more of that after the race concludes. Well, let's get them gridded up and go racing here tonight for round 3 of the Washington, D.C. Region SCCA iRacing League. And here we go. About 21 laps if it all goes green. Which it will. I always say that. And looking from up above. You sure you want to grab yourself a glass of water there?
I probably will, since it's a
okay,
pace
yeah.
car.
Go get yourself a glass of water. Well, Finian stops himself from the plague. We're going to run through the starting order here in just a second. There's a Blue Angels car, the 34 machine of David Alessi. Got a gorgeous livery on that car. All right, Dominic, we've talked quite a bit in recent weeks about patience versus aggression. Tonight, the GMX5 category, especially, lots of cars. So how do you balance aggression with patience here, especially when you got those TCR cars eating you up on the straightaways? I think Dominic's having some technical issues there, so we'll wait for him to jump back in here. But David Alessi in the 34 Finian, I mentioned the livery on this car. Take a look at this thing here, if I can get a good look at it. We'll wait for the camera to pan here. It's a Blue Angels paint scheme. There's some Murica for you if I've ever seen it.
I thought you were referring to the red car there, because
cool
that was
too.
who's behind the tree. That was like Blue Angels.
That's the 05 Michael Monaghan. But that Blue Angels car is good looking.
Yeah, that does look really nice.
It fits the car so well. Hey, Dominic, you got a copy again there, bud?
I'm back.
All right. I was asking you about patience versus aggression, especially in the GMX5 category. 20 cars in that field, so how do you balance driving forward as well as keeping yourself on course here for 25 minutes?
So, Kyle, one of the things we're probably going to see here is that the GMX5 cars are probably going to get their tires up to temperature quicker, which means that they'll have pace early on, while these bigger cars like the Mustangs and the Kias are going to take a few laps to get those tires up to temperature, and that's when they're going to start noticeably making their gap. So in the beginning, it's going to be a big patience game for the Kias and the Mustangs as they try to get their equipment under them and try to get some heat in the tires as they get going.
All right, let's take a look at our starting lineup here. On the front row, it's going to be DJ Alessandrini and Ken Houseel in Kia Optimas. Those guys are always going to put on a show for us. We'll keep an eye on their progress tonight. Starting in row number 2, it's going to be Andrew Pelota and Kyle Herbst in the number 96 and 89 Optimas, respectively. And that'll scroll on through the rest of the Kia field here, Finian, and through the rest of the overall grid as well.
Yeah, indeed. And notably, too, it almost seems like we always see those 4 names up front. I believe it was at Walking Glen that we saw.
Oh, yeah.
Saw these 4 up front as well. It was Alessandrini and Houseel fighting for the lead, and then Herbst and Pelota fighting for 3rd place.
You know, I know one guy who's ready for a dogfight. David Alessi in that Blue Angels car. No. Come on, give me a laugh here, Vinny. That was a good joke. Oh, man. Yeah, gosh, that car's pretty.
It is a really nice shade of blue.
It's just the lines fit and just murking, and it makes me feel patriotic. I like it. Anyway, on to the Mustang field. Chip Disharoon in the 75 making a return this week in 13th overall, and then Greg Obadia in the Kia Optima actually qualified in the middle of the Mustang field, but obviously the class separation will put him up with where he needs to be. Alan Claffey in the 39 car is going to be in the Mustang category as well. But how about heading back to the GMX5 field? Sam Scott and Paul Darling starting up front. Those guys are going to be extremely quick tonight. We'll let the rest of the field roll on. Scrolling through, Elias Roman looking to pick up a checkered flag for the first time, I believe, in his career. I don't think he's won a race yet, but he's gotten awful close quite a few times.
Yeah, he's really been knocking on the door for trying to get a win, but just hasn't been able to get one. I mean, we honestly is a fantastic shot at getting a victory here tonight.
So it's going to be 25 minutes or 21 laps, I believe, whatever finishes first. So 21 laps is about 25 minutes around here, so that's what they went with in terms of the timing and scoring. Khaleel and the Tcr starting all the way back in 26th overall, the number 19 car, looking for redemption after contact with that man right there, DJ Alessandrini, in last week's round 2 at New Jersey Motorsports Park. So as the field rolls back through here, Finian, the Kias, we've seen them fight quite a bit before, but this track doesn't suit them very well, so what do you expect out of the first couple laps?
I think out of the first couple laps, I think it's going to be a lot of action between these guys trying to sort themselves out and getting in line. So I think it's going to be a very interesting start here for the Kias.
Coming out of turn number 10 to the green flag, and it's in the air, and DJ Alessandrini leads them down to round 3 here of the Washington, D.C. region SCCA iRacing League, and a fantastic start by that number 191.
And the first few rows already getting sorted out as they head off into turn 1. There you see behind, I believe that's Herbst looking to the inside of Polo, wasn't able to get the move done.
Yeah, Herbst is in the number 89, that yellow cab-sponsored vehicle. You see that's Louis Alessi running a little bit wide out of turn 1, but so far so good. Let's head back up and find the Mustang category as they monster down towards turn 1. You see Dave Fitzgerald tucking in behind Chip Disharoon, and Michael Monaghan in the 05. There's the 39 of Claffey tucked in behind as well as we head on back to now the MX-5 start as they make their way to the green flag.
And this is going to be a big group of cars, 20 in all, heading off into turn 1 and all in a giant pack.
Gotta be careful down here in turn 1. This is going to be we're going to see the most contact if any of it happens. There's the teammates Darling and Sam Scott up front as they make their way down, but Elias Roman shoves it up the inside of Darling, and he's going to make it there. Might actually steal a spot away. The 91 of Dennis Barrett runs a little bit wide as the rest of the field tries to get themselves sorted out. So far, so good. No contact amongst the GMX5 cars.
Yeah, so far it looks pretty clean. Looks like we haven't lost any drivers in any of the... Oh, and as I say that, the 36 going off the track into the fence along with the 17.
That's Chris Howard and Tarek... how do you pronounce that name?
Nadir?
Boy. Let's take another quick look at it here. But it was Chris Howard in the 36 car that got the worst end of this. And I'm not exactly sure how it started. Did he just... Oh, he thought he was clear and moved right over on the 17. They both went crashing wildly into the fence, so their race is over before it started. Let's head back up live, though, to the Kia, the TCR category. Alessandrini, Hausil, 1 and 2. Pelota in 3rd as they work through lap number 2 already.
Yeah, notably the top 4 in class are kind of broken away from the rest of the pack, so it looks like it's going to come down to between these 4 drivers here for the win as at the moment.
It seems like what it's been so far. Pelota going a little bit defensive in front of Kyle Herbst, and Herbst is all over his rear bumper here, so got to keep an eye out. A little bit of contact there between those 2 cars.
Yeah, and remember at Watkins Glen, these guys didn't have the best of times around each other.
Oh yeah, they crashed in turn 2.
Yeah, and you can see Herbst giving a little bit of a bumper to Pelota, so I'm not sure these guys have gotten over that just yet.
I guess we're going to find out here shortly. Louis Alessi sitting in 7th, but Greg Obadia, last week's one of the leaders from last week, in front of Daniel Richardson now by about a second. But let's head on. Oh, Mark Srivatasa did actually make it on the grid. He'll start in 10th, and he's sitting there right now. Travis Trussell in the 140 had issues on lap 1 and is sitting in 11th. Let's head on back to Big Bore. Lapras leads David Alessi and Chip Disharoon by about half a second as they work their way through their lap 2.
And the top 3 all grouped together for the Mustangs, and looks like they can't really get separated from each other. You see Michael Monaghan and Dave Fitzgerald fighting for 4th place in behind them.
I know one group is going to be extremely close together. Paul Darling, I think he's spun out here, Finian. Dropping down the order. Oh, yes, he is. Spun out wide at the bottom of turn number 5. And going to lose several spots. There's a 25 car in contact with Calvin Wong. And at least Paul Darling will get some of those spots back, but a couple different incidents down in turn 5. Let's quickly take a look.
Oh, and from the little brief look we had when we were trying to get back at it, it looks like this might have been a single car incident here.
You see the 155, he gets loose entering turn 5, drops a wheel off, and goes for a little bit of a loop. No contact here, though. He does, back off the racetrack. And then it was Calvin Wong in the 100 who ended up getting the worst end of another incident as the 25 car had spun out. And nowhere to go for Wong, drove right into the side, and big contact there for those 2 cars. But we'll head back quickly live and catch up as we got a battle for the lead, and Francois Brew is now in the pits. We got to check up and see what happened to him. So frantic action here early. And gonna find what happened to Brew. He's been in the pits for a while.
Oh, look, he just pulled it off the track, so
yeah.
I'm not sure what happened to him.
Alessandrini and Hausil, look at them already in MX5 traffic here, Finian, to the inside of the 17 car. And getting on through.
Yeah, and that's just due to the fact that these guys have to leave a gap for the start. So by the time the Kias got fired and underway, they were already making a huge amount of time on the MX-5s, and like you said...
Whoa, big crash right in front of the leaders, and
wow,
guards everywhere, scattered all over the racetrack, and we have to quickly go back and take a look at what transpired to make that happen. And it was the 28 car was one of the ones involved. That was David Black.
And Alison and Drini had a fantastic view of that.
And here's another look at it here. David Black. And I'm trying to see what other car. This is the 37 car of Tyler Stewart. They're entering turn number 3. Ooh, just 2 cars going for 1 spot. They both spin. And look at the 2 car.
Yeah, the 2
Tim
car
Kramer. Wow.
Wong involved as well. So that was 4 MX-5s trying to get through there.
But Alessandrini did get damaged to the 28 car.
Yeah, and DJ Alessandrini had a fantastic view of there. He drove through there, almost didn't get damage. I think he might have gotten a little bit of damage.
Yeah, he's got some right side damage, but it shouldn't really affect him. Actually, it should be left side damage.
It could have been a lot worse for him though, either way, because he had to jump on the brakes. But there you see Pelota peeking out for a pass. Thought about it again, then peeked out again, and looks like he's gonna remain in 2nd place. But yeah, these guys, they should be worried now with Alessandrini what he's gonna do to try to get around. And this battle has gotten a lot more interesting.
It definitely did indeed. Let's quickly take a look back. Christopher Lapras continues to lead. Big Bore, Sam Scott, and Elias Roman, and Richard Dimarco, a 3-car breakaway in GMX5. In 4th place, Dennis Barrett is a little ways behind with Khaleel Latirbach, Michael Shea, Noel Leslie in 5th, 6th, and 7th. But now this battle, you don't want to leave this here, Finian. They're still in the middle of traffic. There's the 31 car of Patrick Alejandro, and they're right in the middle of it here as they work their way through turns 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, and all 4 of them. Remember, the Kias ran into some trouble working through MX-5 traffic last week at New Jersey Motorsports Park. So, and we saw here the same thing almost happened with the leaders almost getting involved. So we'll see them trying to navigate through.
And you see them getting around Yellow Machine, trying to see who that is. That's the 28 car stopped on the right. That's Paul Darling in the 155. I wonder if he came in and got... Oh, no, something else. Oh, I guess that's just where he was already after that spin. So the front 3 cars getting around. But look at that big group of MX-5s. Look how big those Kias are in relation. They're working for very little track space. The 2 leaders get by, make that 3, and make that 4 as they get down to turn number 1. Ken Houseel continues to lead.
And I think also what's led to this trouble at all, this is going to be very interesting here, as the leading 4 Kias are catching a pack of 5 Miatas fighting for position here. And all these guys are all racing for each other in their respective classes, and these guys just trying to sneak on through.
Well, this is just absolute chaos as we work our way through turn 3. Oh, we're going to split them 3 wide for a second. Maybe. Look at Kyle Herbst. He's off wide, and around he goes. Does he save it? Front wheel drive for the win. Almost has it into the fence in turn 5 hard into the wall.
Yeah, and it looks like he got tapped. Man. He almost had it saved there, but got tapped by a Miata who is also loose, so that's going to send him around. Pelota was also struggling to get under braking as well as he was trying to work through the traffic.
Wow, chaos there for Herbst. He had it saved, and then he got turned at the last second into the fence. So he's going to drop all the way back down to 7th, and it'd probably be farther than that. That car is really torn up. That front right suspension completely mangled on that car.
Yeah, the right front of the wheel, it's pointing to the right when it's going straight, so that's going to be a lot of damage. You might have to come into the pits and repair that. Yeah, indeed, it looks like he's going to peel off here, so really unfortunate for that 89 car.
Wow, this is just, there's a lot of MX-5s. We knew this was going to be a problem, but so far tonight it seems to be the case. And honestly, look at Ken Houseel expertly navigating this traffic. He hasn't had a single scratch on his car yet. Pelota and Alessandrini, however, have been a little bit more unlucky.
Yeah, indeed, so, and this might come into Houseel's favor here if he keeps this up. So he's doing a fantastic job of keeping the field at bay, and there you see Houseel now getting around.
Whoa, Pelota to the inside of the 461. That's 3rd place, Richard Demarco. These are the MX-5 leaders as they work their way through. Yeah. Look at this! Look at DJ Alessandrini through the grass to make up a spot there on one of those lap MX-5s around the outside of Sam Scott down into turn 5. He's have to go the long way around here. This is absolute close racing.
And this is not good for Sam Scott, who's now going to lose more time to Elias Roman. You see on the outside there in that red Miata, who's currently leading the class. And this is great for Roman, as Paul Darling is one of his main competitors, is all the way stuck back in 10th.
Yeah, Roman got by Sam Scott at some point. He just started to drive away here a little bit, and with the Kias mixing it up, it's going to make it harder for them to gain any ground. It looks like Louis Alessi has gone for a spin somewhere, and let's take a look. This is entering down into turn 5, and whoa, gets together with the 91 MX-5 and into the fence down in turn 5, and off the racetrack. That'll probably be night over for the 43. So a little bit of moment to breathe here. let's head on back and check out the big bore category. Christopher Lappers continues to lead by 1.3 seconds over Chip Nisharoon, who's all over the place around the 37 MX-5. David Alessi sitting in third right now with Monaghan and Fitzgerald fourth and fifth.
Yeah, and Alessi trying to work through some traffic as well, try to keep Nisharoon at bay, trying to make sure he doesn't get out of his sight.
And through turn 10, a little bit offline there, so he's going to struggle to get that big Mustang turned in. Still slightly within draft range. It's about 8 to 9 tenths of a second, but that's not going to be enough to get him super close, so he'll have to work on that. But meanwhile, let's check back in with the MX-5 lead. Elias Roman is now up to 1.6 seconds over Sam Scott, who's sitting second. And this is a great battle here between second and third place Scott and Demarco.
Indeed so, and notably too, Paul Darling looks like he's climbed his way back up into fifth in class, so he's done a fantastic job trying to mitigate the damage he had from his spin, so a solid job from the 155.
All right, we're going to have a change for position here in just a second, I think, between second place Andrew Pelota and third place DJ Alessandrini and TCR. Maybe use a little bit of that draft, but it looks like Alessandrini is actually a little bit slow on the straightaway. Not quite sure what's up with that. Maybe just sitting in line?
Yeah, I think probably sitting in line. I think he feels like it's not worth it trying to draft to the inside with him. Ooh, a little bit of a bump there from Alessandrini. But yeah, I think feels like it's not worth trying to put a pass up to the inside. I think he feels like they'll lose too much time to Houseel up ahead.
Dominic, how frustrating is it if you're a guy like DJ Alessandrini who's led a significant portion of this race and then, you know, the MX-5s end up crashing around you? Is that frustrating, or is that just how multi-class racing goes sometimes?
So, Carl, I think one thing we're seeing is the exhilaration of multi-class racing, and two, the challenge of trying to navigate through tight areas where you're running into that traffic. So, in terms of being a driver, it can be frustrating at times to have to work through that. But at the same time, if you keep your head cool and make sure that you're taking your time getting around the cars and making sure that you're hitting your marks, you'll end up being fine. It's just, you know, don't make sure that you do something that could compromise your race as well as someone else's.
All right, thanks for that update. Louis Alessi has returned to the racetrack, as has Francois Brew. Kyle Herbst has not, however, but the battle for second continues in TCR. Pelota and Alessandrini nose to tail, and look at Alessandrini dropping the wheel off at that sand trap there, Finian. That seems like a popular place to run a little bit wide.
Indeed it is, and we'll see now, does Alessandrini still sitting behind Pelota, and looks like he's going to peel out to make a pass here.
It's a tricky place to outbrake somebody, especially with the front-wheel drive layout. He's going to get down. The brake rotor's glowing on that 191. Completes the pass. Alessandrini back to second.
Indeed, Pelota gave him the space there to work with. And now I think Pelota might be trying to hitch a ride here with Alessandrini. Maybe try to draft up back to Houseel, because as they were running, they were losing time to Houseel, but now they're going to reel that back in.
Dominic, there's a legitimate concern about tire wear here for TCR. Obviously, these things, front-wheel drive, they're putting a lot of stress on those front tires. So how do you balance conserving your tires with going out there and chasing the lead back down like Alessandrini is?
So, Carl, one of the best things you can do is make sure that you're not, first of all, sliding the car too much, making sure that all your turn-ins are clean, and making sure that your line is nice and straight. And the other thing you can do is, as we've been seeing the drivers do a lot so far this race, dropping wheels and gravel and such. Because these tires are going to get sticky and going to start falling off towards the end of the race, the more clag and the more things you pick up on those tires, the more they're going to start to go away and degrade quicker. So making sure that you get the tires cleaned off and make sure that you're following in line and making sure you're clean is going to be the best way to preserve your rubber to the end.
Oh, in big trouble for third place in class, Richard Dimarco. He's going to spin off.
Yeah, he just ran a little bit wide at the exit of turn 9, dropped wheel over the edge of the curb, and drove right off into the weeds.
Drove off into the abyss.
Yeah, that's a huge shame. Man. Was sitting on a podium spot, dropped the wheel, and spun out here.
Yeah, I was talking about making sure that these guys got to be careful not getting loose. And the grass just hooked him around, and off he went. So that's unfortunate. He's running in third class.
All right, battle for the TCR lead once again. Alessandrini is hunted down Ken Houseel, but they have to navigate the number 2 car. That is going to be Tim Kramer, and they're all backed up behind him through turns 6 and 7. And now the 2 will run out wide in turn 8 and allow these guys to head on through. But I think we're going to see a bass for the lead here in just a second.
Oh, I think so too. Although Alessandrini looks like he's a little bit too far now to make a pass on the front straightaway as they run now, but
it's fun to watch. They're darting all over the place, left and right, and get around some of these MX-5s. It's kind of like you got the AI difficulty set to low, just passing cars left and right like this.
Indeed, there you see Houseel make a pass, and which Mustang
That's
is that?
That's the 39 of Claffey, I believe, and yes, it is.
Yeah, Claffey currently struggling. He's 15 seconds behind Dave Fitzgerald, so struggling in that 39 car. Is currently last in class.
Tcr leaders head through turns 1 and 2. Alison really charging the middle of the corner. And he seems like he's been really aggressive on the brakes tonight. We've seen his brake rotors already glowing. And now he's all over the rear end of Ken Houseel. Do you think he can get this away here, Finian? 10 minutes to go. But we know Ken Houseel hates getting beat by Alessandrini and wants to keep that car behind him.
Indeed, and you see Alessandrini swerving either which way. Does he dare make a pass here as they head up to turn 5?
Not quite. He's going to stick in behind. A little bit of contact there. Just a bump to let you know I'm here.
Oh, he gave a lot more than a bump. Houseel was swinging the back end now, trying to get it under grip. Alessandrini's being very aggressive.
Well, look who we brought back into the party now. Andrew Pelota rejoins this group. The top 3 fighting for position here at Summit Point.
Yeah, this is going to be a rough battle here. This is for the overall lead in TCR, so it's a 3-way fight. And these guys still got 10 minutes to go.
No other significant battles around the racetrack to show you at the moment. The GMX5 lead is closing up just a little bit, but for now we'll keep you on TCR as Alessandrini hops the curb in turn 10, trying to get right on the bumper of Ken Houseel to use that draft to his advantage. Andrew Pelota sitting in third, waiting in case these two get together.
Pelota's got a big run. Does he chuck it up the inside here? He comes to the inside, Alessandrini.
No patience there. He's just going to try to make this pass, and that Ken Houseel loves seeing that in his mirror.
Indeed he does, and Pelota to the inside. Alessandrini going to try to pinch on exit, and Alessandrini looks like he's going to maintain that spot.
Yeah, Pelota just can't get the power down. Obviously, with the front-wheel drive layout, you put that power down, you're going to slide and understeer on corner exit. And heading now through turn 3, he's going to have to try that move again, but he was on the brakes hard into turn 1. And another high braking zone is turn number 5, but that's a really risky spot to make a pass here because it gets so narrow. But Alessandrini charging in hard on the inside. Now swings out wide. Pelota takes a look to the inside now.
Oh, he's trying to go to the outside of Houseel, and Houseel put the block on him, closed the door, and Alessandrini had nowhere to go, so he's going to have to try to work again. Pelota trying to swing it up the inside.
Fantastic battles between the top 3 drivers right now in TCR. The Mustang lead is separated by 3.6 seconds, 0.8 of a second for the GMX5 leaders, but the battle right now is all the way up front. Pelota almost did what Dimarco did a few laps ago and dropped a wheel in turn 9, but he'll stay straight. And that's a little bit of a safety measure you have in the front-wheel drive cars, is being able to just mash that gas and get your car going straight again. 8.5 minutes to go. We're getting down to the end of this thing. And Alessandrini, a little bit of a defensive line coming over a lane to the right. Now Pelota's going to duck out of line and duck back in, maybe just try to fake out Alessandrini into a defensive maneuver, but Alessandrini doesn't bite.
And heading to turn 1, you can hear the understeer on these cars, the tires squealing for a grip. And Alessandrini, really, you can see him trying to be physical with Houseel, trying to move him out of the way. I think he knows how hard it's going to be to pass that 23.
Dropping a wheel on corner exit of turn 3. Pelota lost a little bit of ground, but heading down on board now with Alessandrini into turn 5. Houseel runs a little bit wide, gets on the brakes. He's going to stay defensive. Alessandrini tries to cross him up. Contact between the leaders once again, pushing and shoving. And Dominic, if you're Ken Houseel, you got to be driven mad right now with all that bumper you're getting in the rearview mirror.
Absolutely, Kyle, and this is tough for him because he's having to do a combination of both windshield driving and mirror driving because he's trying to keep eyes on DJ Alessandrini back there, but at the same time he needs to concentrate on what he's doing out front. So the seasoned racers are the ones who do it best, but it's quite a challenge to pay attention to what's in front of you and what's behind.
I think it's easy to say that Ken Houseel cannot make a single mistake these next 7.5 minutes here, Finian. Otherwise, Alessandrini is going to be all over him. And we've seen Ken make, in the races past, remember Mid-Ohio the first season. Look at Pelota go all the way to the grass now. An incredible move for a second. Here he comes down the inside, 3 wide into turn 1 with a 17 MX-5.
Yeah, through for a moment, Alessandrini's going to go wide. It's going to open the door for Pelota here to get on the gas.
Yeah, but again, Alessandrini's got that wider line. He can get the power down a little bit more than Pelota, and now he's going to have the preferred line into turn 3.
We'll see this Pelota try to pinch.
Whoa, he rubs him off the racetrack. And a little bit of contact there. Pelota's going to squeeze off into the runoff area. That's got to aggravate him a little bit. He got kind of bullied off the course.
We'll take a look at that. Very aggressive driving from both these drivers.
We'll see if we can get a blimp cam here. I mean, the trees might get in the way, so we might go to... Yeah, we're going to run a TV camera again here. And it looks like Alessandrini just ran him wide, and Pelota did a great job gathering that back up after what could have been the end of the race for him then.
Yeah, I'm sure Pelota, if he can get back to the bumper of Alessandrini, I think he might end up returning the favor here.
There's the 63 MX-5. That's Charles Boley going another lap down to the overall leaders. Boley is sitting in 10th in class right now, but for the lead in GMX-5, Elias Roman and Sam Scott closing up together. Only 6 minutes left in this race here, Finian. I think Sam Scott is in a great position.
Indeed he has. He's been slowly catching Elias Roman. I've been watching the gap as the race has gone on. This is the closest they've been since for the last 10 or 15 minutes. So Sam Scott closing in on Elias Roman. This is going to be the battle for the lead. And also we look at third in class, and it's Paul Darling, who talk about never giving up. As you see, Sam Scott gets side by side with Elias Roman.
I think we might see a pass for position here. This is the best battle for the lead on the racetrack. The TCR guys have calmed down for a moment with some traffic to navigate, so we'll keep your eye on GMX5, but they're continuing to battle. Elias Roman's got some right front damage too, so that's not helping the aerodynamic situation. But look at Sam Scott all over the rear bumper now.
Yeah, that might have played a factor in him catching Elias Roman. We'll see what the 99 will do as they head onto the front straightaway here, because this is Elias Roman's at a disadvantage here.
Yeah, you saw Sam Scott actually back off the throttle heading into turn 10, maybe backing up the corner a little bit, and also making sure he's behind to take advantage of the draft on the front straight. And Elias Roman will lead that lap with 5 minutes to go. Where does Sam Scott go here, though, Finian? It looks like Roman's going to go a little bit defensive. Not really much place to go. This track is pretty narrow.
Yeah, indeed. Roman pretty much staying in the middle of the track. What you need to do here to defend the line, and did a great job defending as they head up into one. But I think it's he might be fighting a losing battle for first.
Looks like Greg Obadia has gone off the racetrack. We're going to try to find out what happened to him. And it might have just been a disconnect situation. And it was relatively recent, but I can't seem to grab it here, Finian, so I might have just lost connection or something. I don't have a replay of it, so we'll head back up. And now look at this. Khaleel has extended his lead to 1.3 seconds over DJ Alessandrini, and that is growing a little bit with the traffic, so it seems like Khaleel getting through the traffic a little bit better. Paul Darling also, I think, has gone off Finian.
Oh no, that's unfortunate for him.
And let's take another look. Ran off wide in turn 1, and I think that was just frustration ending his night there.
Yeah, and really unfortunate for Darling, who's leading the points, so that's going to be a tough break for him, and the lead will be decided in that class between Elias Roman and Sam Scott.
And look at Elias Roman. He's doing everything he can to keep Sam Scott behind him here. Just over 3.5 minutes remaining now here at Summit Point Raceway, round 3 of the DC Region SCCA iRacing League, and Sam Scott has to start planning this. This is like a chess game at over 100 miles an hour, and now he's right on the bumper. What do you do here, Finian?
I think what he's going to do, I think he's going to probably wait to the last lap and then try to make the pass on Roman, because I think if you do it any moment before, you're kind of opening yourself up to that pass heading towards turn 1.
They do have a Kia behind them that is on the same lap, so Francois Brew here, the 69. This is going to be a pass for overall position, but they don't care about that. They're just battling for their own spot. But Brew is trying to catch Louis Alessi, who is up in 8th place right now, and Greg Obadia is in 9th, dropping back. So the 69 still has something to race for, and these MX5 leaders have to keep that in mind as they race each other.
Roman got a good piece of the curb there. Looks like he's going to go a little bit wide in that corner. Yeah, he's got to be very careful. If he makes one single mistake, it's going to be Sam Scott's race. So I think he has to make sure that he anticipates the pass that Sam Scott is going to try to pull in the last lap, but he's got to defend accordingly.
All right, should be about 3 laps to go for these cars, as the TCR leaders should have 2 to go next time by. And wow, look at that. That's Francois Brew running all the way to the dirt. And look at Sam Scott trying to go up the outside. Maybe he's going to make that stick. He'll try to cross him over down into turn 1. You'll get one defensive move here, but Elias Roman takes the outside lane, and we'll use that as a defensive line because Sam Scott had nowhere to go.
Indeed, let's try to check where the leaders are, the overall leaders are. And they're right here.
And this will be 2 to go for them, and actually they're going to end up lapping those leading MX-5s, so it'll be 2 to go for the MX-5s once they get lapped. So Ken Alceel has a 1-second lead over Alessandrini with 2 minutes left. He might have enough of a gap to win this race and defeat arch nemesis Alessandrini.
Yeah, well, it depends on how quickly Alceel can get through traffic, and remember, they're approaching the MX-5 leading battle, so he's got to try to get through the traffic accordingly and hope that he catches them in a good place.
Well, while we're watching this MX-5 lead, Mark Srivastava, who started 10th, is now up to 6th. There's something to be said for keeping it smooth and not making any mistakes. Up to 6th right now, Travis Trussell, 7th in TCR. But for the lead, this is the closest battle on the racetrack at the moment, and it's between the GMX5 leaders, Roman and Scott. They'll be coming for what should be 2 to go for them.
Indeed, and you see Roman trying to
maybe 1 to go, because the leaders are coming up behind him.
Yeah, I think this is going to be 1 to go. And ooh, Roman off the track. Here comes Sam Scott. And in the background, you see there coming over the hill, Alceel. He's going to come and he's going to take the white flag and he's going to catch MX5's leaders. So I'm curious if they know that they're going to be on the last lap.
This is going to be really close, but here comes Sam Scott to the outside. He's hard on the brakes, gets in the grass, he's wide.
He took a bit of grass, and yeah, it went wide, and I think that might be all she wrote right there.
Well, he's got about half of a lap to do something with it. Here come the TCR leaders, Ken Alcil and DJ Alessandrini. You know for a fact Sam Scott's not going to give this up easy, but now to the inside goes Alcil. Alessandrini might have to sit behind Sam Scott, and that might destroy the chance at a win, but Alessandrini runs through the dirt. He made up a ton of ground here. We're going to have a battle for the lead on the last lap.
The battle for the lead here for the overall with half a lap to go. Alessandrini trying to get around Elias Roman as quickly as possible.
He did so, and now he's got a couple corners left. We're in turn 6 and 7. Now he's behind, about 2 car lengths behind Ken Alcil, coming to the checkers this time by. Alcil works his way through turn 7 and 8 and up to turn 9. He's got to make 2 more corners to win and defeat DJ Alessandrini as they come through.
Yeah, and I think Alcindrini, I think he's too far back now unless he completely sends it into the last corner. I think Alcil's going to have it here.
Coming back to the checkers through turn 10. It's extremely hard to defeat DJ Alessandrini, especially in a place like Summit Point, but today is going to be Ken Alcil's day. He finally beats DJ Alessandrini in TCR as they come across the line. Behind them, Elias Roman.
Sam Scott out in the dirt. I think he tried to throw a move, and he's going to finish off the track. He's going to try to get back on the track before the third place comes around.
That's the clear on the Tierboff there in the 19.
Oh, and
he's
Sam
going to lose
Scott's
it.
spinning off.
He's off the racetrack.
Off the track, and clearly Tierboff is going to come across the line.
He's still trying to wrestle it across the checkered flag. He's not going to get there, or did he get there? He did.
He? Huh.
I guess that start-finish line is a little farther forward than we thought. But near Tierboff comes home in third. Dennis Barrett fourth. Solid finish for the 91 car. Robbie Wilson in fifth for GMX5. Christopher Lapras in the Mustang, I believe. I'm not sure if they're done yet.
I think he saw us going on the lap. I didn't see him. I didn't see him cross the line, so I think he's going to be going another lap.
So Lapras, yeah. So Chip Disharoon, Michael Monaghan, Dave Fitzgerald are all completely done with this race, but Lapras has to make it around a little bit more. But he has essentially won this race.
Actually, is that Elias Roman up ahead of him? I saw a red.
Oh yeah, so he's done. He's
okay.
just going around his cooldown lap. So Lapras, 2 weeks in a row, will take home a victory in Big Bore. So Ken Alcil, Christopher Lapras, Elias Roman, your winners here tonight. It was not easy for a lot of these drivers, but wow, what about Alcil? There's your winners all kind of collecting together here. What a race.
Indeed, what a race indeed. And actually, I kind of want to take a look at as they came across the line with the Tierboff and Sam Scott, because that was really interesting.
Yeah, that was interesting to say the least, as Sam Scott came skidding across the line. Let's
go to TV2. I think we'll probably give a view from the side.
All right. This is coming back to the checkers for second place. Sam Scott. You see Elias Roman in the 99 just up the road, and maybe try to make one last-ditch effort to get there. And probably just throws it in here. Yeah, already.
Grass in the entry.
Yeah, clipped a little bit of grass, slides wide, and almost had it saved. And then right here, he could have had. Well, he already did finish second, but he could have had second a little bit easier if he had just gotten back on the pavement, but he didn't want to pull off in front of the leaders. There's Lapras right there going by for the win. And now we look from up above to the start-finish line in the grass. Actually, he crosses the line in the grass. And that was the difference between those two guys with 0.3 of a second. So what a finish here at Summit Point Motorsports Park here, Finian. Dominic, you had a breath after that one? That was pretty crazy.
It was. I think that's what you call controlled madness right there, with all these cars trying to navigate around each other. And it was nice to see how, even though some of these races looked like they were settling out here, that some of the cars that were following gave it a last chance effort and really made it exciting towards the end. And it was nice to see how everyone cooperated on track, and everyone looked like had a great time out there. So it was a great track, and I think this is another track that's a great equalizer for these different layouts of vehicle.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a fantastic race indeed. A couple of drivers that didn't have great races. Richard Demarco ended up finishing 11th in class after spinning out from Podium at third place. So not a great finish for the 461 after a very promising start. Greg Obadia, another bad week, finishes dead last in TCR in 10th place, 5 laps down. Paul Darling in 17th after a crash that took him out of the race as well.
Yeah, and that's a big news there, because these guys do go off of Formula 1 style points. Top 10 get points in each class, and outside of that, you get nothing. So Paul Darling, he does have the lead. He will maintain the lead going into next week. But that's big for Dennis Barrett and Khaleel Tcr Lead, who finished 4th and 3rd respectively in their class. So they're going to catch up just a little bit, and that battle for the lead in that class is going to get a little bit tastier going into the next 3 rounds.
Elias Roman conquers Summit Point in GMX5, Lapras in Big Bore, and Ken House Seal in TCR. We'll be back in just a moment with interviews. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back live here to Sim TV, now with second place GMX5 driver Sam Scott, driver of the number 98 car. Sam, kind of a chaotic end of that race, just came up a couple seconds short of Elias Roman after an intense battle. Walk us through those closing laps.
Oh, it was really a great race. Hanging with Elias, I mean, you just can't break the draft in the MX5. Elias had great pace and couldn't let go of him. Didn't quite have the pace to make a move on though, unfortunately. And it got really exciting once the Kias got in there, and we had 2-1-2 battles side by side. It was pretty hairy, but it was a great time.
Walk us to that last corner there. Obviously, dropped a left rear wheel off in the grass or something of the sort. Went for kind of a wild slide and then came across the start-finish line pretty much into the trees. Oh, what was that the last couple of corners like for you?
Oh, yeah, that was probably not my best finish ever. Just zoned out a corner early and pushing at the same time. Not the best combination.
All right, well, second place finish for Sam Scott. A podium for you. Great points night for you regardless. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks for talking.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Next, we're going to talk to Elias Roman next, winner of GMX5. Hey, Elias Roman, you got a copy?
I do.
All right, well, victorious this week here at Summit Point. An excellent race for you, an excellent result, and beating out Sam Scott and Paul Darling and others. Walk us through that race. It was very, very entertaining from our point of view, especially once the Kias got there.
Well, it's finally about time I got the monkey off my back with a win here at Summit Point. Yeah, so Scott and Paul, we were like within hundreds of each other in qualifying, and then Paul made a mistake. Around 3 or 4 laps in and just went out of control, which I almost hit him. Luckily, I just narrowly dodged him. And then, yeah, it was just a dogfight between me and Sam. I forgot 1 lap, but I had a good run off the final corner and using the lap traffic as kind of a pick to help me with the draft. I was able to get by Sam, and then it was just defense from there all the way to the checkered.
Fantastic win for you, Elias. Congratulations. Go ahead and celebrate that one. It was well earned, and we'll talk to you next week.
Alrighty. Thanks, guys.
No problem. Have a good night. All right, next we'll talk to, how about we bring on Chris for Lapras. Hey, Chris, you got a copy?
Hey, guys, I do.
All right. Well, that was a spectacular race, and it's going to be 2 weeks in a row that you take home a checkered flag here in the Washington, D.C. region SCCA iRacing League. Not a whole lot of competition this week. You were getting hunted down there by chip there towards the end, but just walk us through that race and the multi-class interaction that you guys had.
Yeah, I feel like outside of the first, I don't know, 3-4 laps, the rest of it was just traffic management. I feel like every lap I was either being overtaken or had a Miata in like one of the sketchiest turns. It was definitely exciting, but kind of nerve-wracking at the same time.
Yeah, nerve-wracking a lot, especially because you're kind of the middle class there. So how difficult is it at a track like Summit Point, especially through the turns 5, 6, 7, 8 complex, where you don't really have time to glance behind you, and you got those Kias hunting you down and MX-5s out in front?
Yeah, actually, I didn't mind 5, 6, 7 because I felt like I had the same pace, or all 3 cars had the same pace through there. It was turn 3 and 4 that were really tough.
All right, well, 2 weeks in a row, Christopher Lappers goes to victory lane in the 0-4 car. Congratulations, and go ahead and go celebrate that one. It was well earned. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you, guys. It was a blast.
All right. Thanks a lot. Have a good night. Next, we're going to talk to Ken Houseel, driver of the number 23 TCR Kia Optima. Ken, every time you beat DJ, it's a massive accomplishment, but tonight especially so. A very intense battle between you and DJ there. Just walk us through those closing laps and having DJ hunting you down.
Man, I've got to say the Kia's amazing and just held up great all the way to the end. And I have to say that win was for Kyle Herbst, man. I don't know what happened to him, but rip.
Yeah, I think what happened? I think he was crashed with an MX-5 entering down in turn 5, got knocked off course there, Ken. But we saw quite a bit of action around the GMX-5 cars, especially. What was it like having to dodge them like bullets as they were crashing left and right through turn 3 there?
I have to say that was probably the most intense moment I've had in iRacing in a long time, and I don't know if it was that lap or a couple laps later, but Andrew just sort of drilled me, not on purpose, but he drilled me, and it was like, oh geez, I thought I was about dead. So I'm glad I got to finish the race out with DJ and finally get a win over him. It feels like it's been a long time.
All right, Ken. Well, congratulations on a victory. It's been good watching you battle with DJ and Andrew each week. Thanks for talking to us, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
You too. All right, Finian. Well, that wraps up interviews here. What a fantastic race again. These guys never disappoint, especially at Summit Point. But I feel like tonight, especially in Kia, that was an insane battle for sure.
Indeed, it was, especially for most of the race after that incident involving those 4 MX-5s. Really made that battle for the class really intense and carried all the way pretty much to the checkered flag.
Dominic, we've seen some incredible racing here in the Washington, D.C. region SCCA iRacing League. Where does this one stack up in terms of the other 2 races? How would you rank them so far? I don't know if Dominic's still hanging around. Might have. Oh, it looks like he's. Oh, hey, Dominic, you back?
I'm back.
All right, I was just going to ask you. No worries. I was just going to ask you, how does this race rank to Watkins Glen and New Jersey Motorsports Park so far? Which one is your favorite?
Well, Kyle, I think that anytime we come to Summit Point, it always probably has a lot of surprises, and all these drivers have a lot to deal with both in front and behind them. So I think that it was a great lesson in terms of managing cars in different classes and being able to make moves and keep the racing clean no matter how close people got and where you may have caught them. And next weekend, I'm looking forward to going to VIR, which again will host the 2019 SCCA National Championship runoffs. And so I know a number of the drivers who are regulars in the series have plans to attend that event. So getting some more time on the simulator and seeing the track with all its hills and all its different nuances will definitely benefit them as they head into the fall and continue to plan for that. But in terms of the series so far, it's been great. 3 different tracks, and it's cool to see how each of the drivers tackle it, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the season.
All right, as Dominic mentioned, Virginia International Raceway next week, and I believe, Finian, that's also where we're going to be going for the Spec MX-5 Sim Racing Challenge race next week as well. So VIR all over the schedule next week, and we're looking forward to that quite a bit. So next week we're going to be on the Winding Road Magazine YouTube channel with 450,000 subscribers, no pressure, as we broadcast the Spec MX-5 Sim Racing Challenge for 11 events throughout 2019. So that's super exciting.
Indeed, it is. Really looking forward to it. It's hard to believe now it's only a week away.
Oh man, I'm panicking a little bit. There's still lots to do, lots of things. New graphics package, completely different graphics package actually for Spec MX-5, a more traditional horizontal style ticker for that event. But that'll be on at, I believe, 8:20 p.m. next week on the Winding Road Magazine YouTube channel. So if you have not hit subscribe to their channel yet, go over and do that. And don't forget to hit that big red subscribe button here as well and hit that bell notification. Every time we go live, you'll get a message and you can come out and watch some of the best sim racing action there is on YouTube. And we got all sorts of events coming up. Tomorrow, the return of the Ferrari Challenge presented to me by this Sim Championship Racing Series. And that'll be at Zandvoort, a track that I'm not super familiar with, so I'm not really looking forward to that. But then on Saturday, we're off this weekend until Sunday night. There'll be 3 wide development series. I think they're back for round 2 this week. So that's what's coming up on Sim TV. Have a good night, and we'll see you next week at VIR.